Alright, come on, sir. Bullet, Tita, Kilame, Kiliwatawata, Kamarumbo, Sorumorumbo, Asicha. Where were you when I'm dread? Where were you when I'm sitting? So fast, Kichi, Emoye, so fast, Kichi, Ekati, Kichi, Kichiba, Kichiba, Wonke Laban, Hebakit, Wonke Laban, Hebakit, Siltatile, Hilagit, Siltatile, Hilagit, shoot to kill, Yamasa, shoot to kill, kill a man, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer, brr, pa, pa, brr, pa, pa, shin.
You must have watched the video of Julius Malema speaking, and if you haven't, well, brace yourself. EFF leader Julius Malema has once again made headlines, and this time it's after a court found him guilty in his 2018 firearm discharge case. What followed the verdict was something few expected. Malema took to the stage and sang the controversial K*LL the Boer song, a move that has reignited debates across South Africa and beyond. Today, we're going to break down what happened, why it matters, and the ripple effects this could have on South African politics, all while giving you a bit of context to understand the bigger picture. So, settle in, because this story is far from straightforward. First, let's recap the case. In 2018, during a political rally in Dansane, Malema discharged a firearm in public. The charges that followed took years to process, and yesterday, the courts finally reached a decision. Malema was found guilty of unlawfully discharging a firearm, while his security officer, Adrian Snyman, was acquitted. This verdict immediately sparked reactions from various corners, both supportive and critical. Many have been waiting for this day, given Malema's reputation for controversy and his readiness to court confrontation, but the choice to respond with song rather than speech added another layer of drama. Now, about the song itself. K*LL the Boer has long been one of the most contentious parts of Malema's political persona. While some argue that the song is symbolic, rooted in historical resistance, others see it as a dangerous provocation, especially given South Africa's delicate social and political climate. The fact that Malema sang it immediately after being convicted sends a strong message to his supporters: he remains unbowed, defiant, and unafraid of the law. For political analysts, this is a calculated move, blending defiance with performance, rallying the base while making headlines that dominate news cycles. But let's look at the reactions. Across social media, headlines, and political corridors, people have been quick to weigh in. Critics argue that Malema's choice of response could escalate racial tensions, citing the song's history and the charged environment in which it was sung. Supporters, on the other hand, celebrate the moment as a demonstration of courage and loyalty to political principles. In South African politics, moments like these are never neutral. There are symbols, signals, and sometimes sparks for larger debates about race, freedom of speech, and accountability. The timing of this moment is also worth noting. South Africa is approaching a period of political flux, with the 2026 local government elections on the horizon. The EFF, under Malema, is pushing to solidify its position as a radical opposition force, and high-profile moments like this serve to energize the party's base. Every gesture, song, or statement is amplified in this context. You can almost hear the political strategist thinking, "Well played, Julius." Adding another layer to this story is the broader debate around South Africa's legal system. Some have asked why it took several years for this case to conclude. Others point out that high-profile figures like Malema can dominate media narratives in ways ordinary citizens cannot. The contrast is stark: ordinary South Africans face long waits and high costs for justice, yet prominent politicians can remain in the public eye and continue to shape discourse even as legal proceedings unfold. Malema singing after a guilty verdict is a prime example of this disparity, showing both the spectacle and the frustration that characterize South African politics. And of course, there is humor to be found here. Imagine a courtroom drama stretching over years, thousands of words of legal arguments, and then the headline act is a song. It's almost cinematic, except it's real life, and the stakes are very much tangible. For observers, there's a mix of incredulity, fascination, and a begrudging admiration for the sheer audacity. Only in South Africa, some might say, could a courtroom conviction lead directly to a political musical performance. Now, we should also consider the implications for public discourse. In a country still healing from deep divisions, actions like these carry weight far beyond the individual. They provoke conversations about freedom of expression, historical memory, and the responsibilities of political leaders. They also test the limits of South Africa's legal frameworks around hate speech and incitement. Whether one agrees with Malema or not, his choice of response forces citizens, politicians, and journalists alike to confront uncomfortable questions about the boundaries of speech and political symbolism. It's also worth noting the contrast between Malema's approach and those of other political leaders. Some might issue formal statements, apologize, or step back to let events unfold. Malema, however, thrives on engagement, confrontation, and spectacle. His response is not just a song, it's a message, a rallying cry, and a media magnet all at once. Political analysts would argue that this is a masterclass in controlling the narrative. Even in defeat, he manages to dominate the conversation. For those following South African politics closely, yesterday's event will likely be dissected for weeks. Analysts will debate whether this will bolster the EFF's standing, polarize voters further, or spark renewed discussions about regulation of politically charged speech. There will also be a broader conversation about the role of youth movements, historical memory, and how the past continues to influence the present. Every gesture from Malema is layered with symbolism, and singing this particular song after a guilty verdict cannot be viewed in isolation. Finally, let's bring this back to you, the viewer. What does this mean for ordinary South Africans? On one hand, it's a reminder of the power and influence of political theater. On the other hand, it highlights ongoing tensions within society that require careful navigation, dialogue, and understanding. Whether you cheer, cringe, or shake your head, it's impossible to ignore. And that, in essence, is the genius of figures like Malema. They force attention, spark debate, and keep the country talking. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. Let us know your take. Do you see Malema's actions as courageous defiance, reckless provocation, or a bit of both? Your thoughts matter because discussions like these shape the national conversation, keeping politics alive beyond headlines. South Africa is never short of drama, but understanding the stories behind the headlines gives you a deeper perspective on where the country is headed. See you next time.